In this video, we uncover the tragic and horrifying events that happened to a 21-year-old woman. Early in the morning, when it was quiet, the streets around Middlesbrough's red light area were almost empty. A fine mist clung to the sidewalks, making it hard to see the streetlights and hear the cars far away. Vicky Glass got out of a taxi and into the dark at some point during that silence. She had no idea that these were the last moments anyone would see her living. After a few minutes, a car pulled up. Its headlights lit up the empty road, and the driver stopped just long enough to talk to her. No one knows what was said. No one saw what went on next. The street was quiet. It was late at night, and a young woman went missing. But in that short amount of time, something terrible happened. Vicky was gone by dawn, and the truth about those last few minutes is still hidden. Before we get into the full story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life crime documentaries that dive deep into the darkest and most unbelievable true stories from around the world. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss when a new case drops. Every story here reveals something new about the hidden side of human nature, and I'd really love to know, which country are you watching from? Drop it down in the comments below. It's always incredible to see how far these stories travel and connect people from every corner of the world who share the same fascination for true crime and justice. Your support truly helps keep these stories alive and remembered. Now, let's get into it. In Stockton-on-Tees, England, on September 21, 1979, a girl who was born before she was due fought for her life. Vicky Glass was only 3 pounds. She came into the world 2 months early. She and her mother, Deborah, were both very close to dying while giving birth. But this little baby was ready to fight. During those first hours, she clung to life and showed how strong she was right away. It was a very different world when Vicky was born. In that same year, Margaret Thatcher became the first woman to lead Britain as Prime Minister. Northern England's industrial towns were about to go through a time of economic change. It would be a long time before working-class towns like Stockton-on-Tees didn't feel these changes in a big way. Deborah Glass and Anthony Glass were Vicky's parents. Claire, their other daughter, was only a year older than Vicky. It was because Vicky was so weak when she was born that her mother became very close to her. Deborah took extra care of her youngest daughter and helped her get better every day. Her mother married a new guy named Colin Goodall when Vicky was 6 years old. Cheryl, an older stepsister, and Thomas, a younger brother, were added to the family. The Stockton house was loud and full of kids. Vicky has had trouble hearing since birth, but she never let that stop her. She paid close attention when people talked and learned to read lips. Vicky was shy and quiet as a child. Not only did she need support and guidance, but she was also loving and kind. The teachers at her elementary school saw how kind she was to other kids. She watched out for kids who needed help. Vicky would make friends with someone who was being picked on. Vicky would offer to help someone with their schoolwork if they were having trouble. The other kids felt safe around her because she was warm and friendly. Vicky was different when she was with her family, though. She was happy and bubbly. The girls and she would laugh and play for hours. Her mom thought back to her cheeky smile that could make anyone happy. Vicky loved having her picture taken. She would smile for the camera and ask her mom to braid her hair so that when the knots were taken out, it would be wavy and crimped. Greta, her grandma, loved her very much. Vicky would be pushed on the swings when they went to the park. She would help her bake cookies in the kitchen. The family would look at those photos and remember those times for many years to come. After Vicky turned 13, she went to Blakeston Secondary School in Stockton. Vicky worked hard in class even though she had trouble hearing, but she really came alive when she wasn't at school. She joined the Roseworth Kiora Hall Jazz Band when she was 13 years old. Even though she had trouble hearing, she loved music. She liked everything about the band. The practices gave her discipline and a reason to do things. The other people in the band became like family to her. She went all over the area to play at community centers, nursing homes, and other events in the area. She played for large crowds on stages, and even though she couldn't hear every note exactly, she felt the music move through her. The jazz band gave Vicky courage, a reason to live, and happiness for 5 years. Her teacher said she was kind and thoughtful. The people in her band knew she was skilled and dedicated. It was rare for her to miss a practice. She always practiced at home. Vicky became more than just the quiet girl with a hearing problem through music. In the jazz band, everyone just called her Vicky, and that was enough for her. Vicky stayed close to her family all through her teens. She lived with her mother Deborah and husband Colin. Claire, her sister, and she were very close. Vicky got a job at the sweet and savory plant in Tees when she was 16 years old. The job wasn't exciting, but it let her be independent and made her money. When Vicky turned 18, everything changed. The Kiora Hall Jazz Band wouldn't let her stay because she wasn't old enough. This loss broke her heart. For 5 years, the band had been her safe place, her group, her source of pride, and who she was. Vicky felt lost without it. She started looking for a place to belong elsewhere. At about the same time, Vicky began hanging out with new people. She began going out more often. She wanted to have fun. She needed to fit in and be liked. But the group she joined was unsafe. These people took advantage of Vicky's weakness. They gave Vicky drugs, starting with milder ones and working up to stronger ones over time. Because she was weak and naive, she was an easy target. She believed they were her friends. They were using her, but she couldn't tell. They would need money from her. They would make her feel like she had to try new drugs. Vicky tried to fit in and went along with it. In the late 1990s, drug addiction wasn't well known like it is now. There was more shame and not as much help accessible. Vicky's parents didn't understand how bad the situation was until it was too late. At first, they saw little changes. Vicky looked more worn out. She had lost weight. More often, she asked for money, but right away, they didn't think these signs were related to drug use. They were heartbroken when they finally realized what was going on. Anthony, her father, begged for help over and over again. When he saw the doctors, he begged them to take Vicky to the hospital for care. He told the doctors that she was addicted and needed help, but they told him to not worry about it. She was an adult. She had to need help. They couldn't make her go to care against her will. There weren't any support groups or treatment choices like there are now in 2000. Anthony and Deborah were powerless as they saw their daughter fall further and further. They tried to talk to her. It was an attempt to make her choose. They tried to stop giving her money. It didn't work. Vicky was trapped by her addiction and couldn't get away. Vicky's drug use had taken over her whole life by the time she was 21. She was fired from the business. She had left the family home and moved into a house in Middlesbrough. She had to do sex work to pay for drugs. She worked in the sketchy parts of Middlesbrough. Vicky was open to harm. Everyone around her was taking advantage of her. The people in that world kept her stuck in a hopeless loop that would never end. To make money, she would work the streets. She was going to buy drugs. She was going to use drugs. It would happen again because she would need more money. Anthony gave Vicky money when she asked for it because he thought it would help keep her safe. He knew where the money was going, but he couldn't stand the thought of her living on the streets and being totally broke. She never took anything from him. She never had problems at home. In spite of his pleas for her to stop using drugs, Vicky couldn't get away. Too many people were hooked on it. Vicky turned 21 years old on September 21st, 2000. After 3 days, she would be gone for good. CCTV video from Cannon Park in Middlesbrough on the evening of September 23rd was the last clear picture of Vicky Glass. Vicky was seen on video with a female friend. She wore a light-colored top, light-colored pants, white sneakers, and a dark fur jacket. It was clear that Vicky looked thin and worn out even on the bad video. Police talked to the friend in that video afterward. She gave important facts. Vicky met a truck driver somewhere in Middlesbrough after the video was taken. Vicky got some money from this guy. His personal things were left with Vicky, and she agreed to meet him later that day. The truck driver was described by police as white, between 34 and 38 years old, with a large build and a mole that stood out on his face. Investigators have worked hard, but they have never been able to positively identify or find this man. In the Middlesbrough area around Union Street on September 24, 2000, as Saturday night turned into Sunday morning, Vicky was at work. This was the center of the red light area. Vicky didn't have any money. Her body needed drugs. Everything she did that night was driven by that desperate need. Between 4 and 4 a.m., Vicky was dropped off by cab on Sunday morning at the corner of Union Street and Eshwood Square. In the end, the taxi driver told the cops that this was the drop-off. Vicky got out of the car and walked into the dark street. She was by herself. The car left. This was the last time Vicky Glass was seen living. That could be proven. When the cab left, police think that someone picked Vicky up from that spot soon after. Based on what they know so far, detectives believe this was a client looking for paid sexual services. That person took Vicky somewhere. No one knows what happened next, but Vicky was dead within hours. The killer then had a problem. He had to get rid of the body. He picked Danby, a town in North Yorkshire that is pretty far away and only 40 minutes from Middlesbrough. This village is near the North York Moors. It's a quiet rural place where not many people live. It would have been completely empty in the early morning. Vicky's body was taken to Danby by the killer. On the edge of the town, he found a stream that ran through Moorish land. She was naked when he threw her into the cold water. She had been killed in a very terrible way. Investigators said the crime was cruel and evil, but they haven't said all the specifics yet. Vicky laid in that cold stream for 6 long weeks. Her family looked for her very hard. They put in reports of lost people. They handed out flyers. The people called hospitals. They hoped against hope that Vicky was still alive. But as the days went by, that hope started to fade. A dog walker was out near Danby Village on November 3, 2000. His dog ran ahead of him on the walk and then started acting funny near the stream. The walker walked up to the animal to see what was making it upset. He would always be afraid of what he found. The naked body of a young woman was there, partly buried in the water. The police were called right away. When police arrived, they blocked off the area. The place was hard to get to. Officers had to walk through wet moors land to get there. Forensic teams carefully wrote down everything that happened. Even though the body had been there for weeks, there was still enough proof to go on. It didn't take long to figure out that Vicky Glass was dead. The girl who hadn't been seen in Middlesbrough since September 24th was found, but she wasn't living. She was found dead in a stream 40 minutes from her home in a town she had no ties to. Stepfather to Vicky, Colin Goodall, remembers when the police came to their door. It was dark outside. When he saw the police coming, he knew right away why they were there. The police then asked to come inside. He opened the door and said, "Oh, you found her." It was then that Colin knew for sure. It was not good news. Vicky's family was told by the cops that her body had been found in Danby. Deborah fell down. They would always remember how painful that moment was. Cleveland police started a huge investigation into a murder. A lot of officers worked on the case all the time. They talked to a lot of people who were involved with Middlesbrough's red light area. They talked to other sex workers who knew Vicky and asked about her regular clients and anyone who looked risky. They found her customers. Friends and family were asked to give them information. They went door to door along Union Street, showed Vicky's picture, and asked people if they remembered seeing her that night. The forensic pathologist did an autopsy to find out what killed the person and gather proof. Samples of DNA were taken. The fingerprints were looked at. Each piece of physical proof was looked at very carefully. The test proved that Vicky had been killed soon after she went missing. She had been killed somewhere else and then brought to Danby. Investigators looked at video from security cameras all over Middlesbrough in the area of Union Street. They looked. Their eyes were on video from businesses close. They looked at phone records. They put together schedules. They tried all night and all day to figure out who picked up Vicky from Union Street that night. They ran into a wall, though. In the red light district, people wouldn't talk to the cops. People who worked in sex were scared. People who used drugs didn't want to join in. Later, the investigators said they ran into a wall of silence. No one would work together. Police paid a lot of attention to truck drivers. Middlesbrough prostitutes were known to have a lot of clients who were truck drivers. The truck driver who gave Vicky money earlier that day was one of the main people who were being looked into, but it seemed impossible to find him without a name or car registration. Early in 2001, cops made their first arrest. A truck driver from Grimsby, who is 39 years old, was brought in to be questioned. Police questioned him for almost 14 hours. They asked him a lot of questions about where he was on September 24th. They questioned parts of his story that didn't make sense, but they couldn't find enough proof to charge him. He was let go without being charged. Police caught another suspect in January 2002. A guy who is 47 years old was taken to the North Allerton Police Station and questioned in great detail. Once more, the detectives hoped this would be the big break they were looking for. Once more, there wasn't enough proof. He was let go without being charged. Over the years, 4 different people have been arrested for killing Vicky. There were 4 times when cops thought they might have found the killer. 4 times those people got away with it because the evidence wasn't good enough to bring charges. No one has ever been charged. No one has ever been put on trial. Vicky's family has been devastated by what has happened. Deborah, her mother, couldn't laugh or smile for 2 whole years after Vicky died. She was completely consumed by her sadness. The father of Vicky, Anthony, broke down. He became suspicious. Nothing was able to hold his attention. He lost his job since he couldn't do it. He stopped going by himself. Since he lost Vicky, he hasn't worked since. Anthony used painful words to describe his life. He knows that the saying, "time heals all wounds," is not true. Things don't get better with time. There's something missing from his life. The days blend together. He stopped getting pleasure from the things he used to do. It became a chore to live, not a pleasure to do. Deborah Goodall died in 2015, which was very sad. Someone killed her daughter, and she never found out who did it. The law did not punish her before she died. That unfinished sadness kept bothering her right up until the end. The police in Cleveland never gave up on the case. A thorough review was done by the Historical Investigation Unit in 2021. Everything was looked at by new cops with fresh eyes. In 2000, they didn't have access to investigative technology like they did now. They could use methods to improve DNA. They could use new ways to look into things. The review showed facts that were hard to face. The first study was not very good. There were problems with how the case was treated at first. Being told this hurt, but it also gave me hope. If we try something new, maybe we can finally find solutions. A new investigation group was put together, and Detective Chief Inspector Peter Carr is in charge of it. From the very beginning, they looked into the case again as if it were a new murder. They looked at more than 2,000 hours of CCTV footage from the time Vicky went missing. This is footage that other agents may not have looked at in detail. They talked to witnesses again and asked new questions now that they knew what happened. They went after new ideas that came up because of the review. They used cutting-edge DNA research methods that weren't around in 2000. They looked at the case with new eyes and used up-to-date methods of investigation. A big step forward was made in 2022. CCTV film that had not been seen before was found that shows Vicky in Cannon Park on the day she went missing. In her last hours, this was the first film. No one knew about this video. It had been lost during the first probe while it was sitting in an archive. What she was wearing was clear from the video. It showed who she was with. When her friend saw herself on the news, she came forward and gave important details about the truck driver who had given Vicky money. In November 2022, investigators went back to Danby to make another appeal to the town. They gave out flyers with pictures of Vicky and details about the case. People were given surveys that asked them to remember November 2000. People could go to the town hall and talk to detectives. They asked, did anyone see anything suspicious back then? Did anyone notice vehicles that didn't belong in the area? Did anyone have concerns about people visiting the area around that time? Were there any strangers in the village? Detective Superintendent Peter Carr stressed that people can change their minds after 25 years. People who were afraid to speak up in 2000 might not be so afraid now. Someone may have important information that they didn't know about at the time. Someone could be ready to tell the truth now. They may have been guarding someone at the time, but that person is no longer in their life. They may have been afraid of getting hurt again, but enough time has passed. They may have been doing illegal things and didn't want to say anything, but they've changed their lives since then. No matter why they have been quiet, now is the time for them to speak up. Vicky Glass died when she was 21 years old. Now she would be 46 years old. She should have had many more years to live. She could have cleaned up and started over. She could have married someone and had kids. She may have made her dreams come true. Instead, violence ended her life. Her family doesn't want to forget about her. Even after 25 years, they wouldn't give up on justice. They won't let anyone forget how important Vicky Glass was. How do you think Vicky got away? Do you think someone knows the truth? Let's talk about this in a polite way and keep Vicky's story living. Thank you for watching and joining me as we unraveled this case. Stories like these remind us that reality can be unpredictable, and staying aware of the world around us is more important than ever. If this video captured your attention, made you think, or kept you on edge, Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into real-life mysteries. Your support helps this channel continue bringing important stories to light. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below. Share your opinions, your questions, or the next case you want us to cover. Every comment is read, and your input helps shape the content we create. And if you know someone who would find this story interesting or eye-opening, make sure to share this video with them. Awareness grows when stories are shared, and your engagement makes a real difference. Always stay alert, trust your instincts, and take care of yourself and the people around you. Life can change in an instant, and knowledge is one of the strongest tools we have to protect ourselves. Thank you again for watching, supporting the channel, and being part of this community. Stay safe. Stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next video.